Well, Sean, how was the winter away from Australia? Playing cricket the whole time in an English summer. How was that for you?
It was brilliant, to be honest. Pretty fortunate to have been at Surrey for the whole time. Like, great setup, obviously a great ground, as everyone would have seen in that last Test match, and the Test Championship final as well. Yeah, it was a great group to be around for 4 months. You know, we've been playing some good cricket. Probably a little bit disappointing through the blast. You know, to only have made the semi. I think we're a much better side than that, but whole lot of fun, and it was good just to get the head down, bum up, and just grind away for 4 months playing cricket.
Because you play a lot there.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they've got so many competitions. It's almost like they've got too much cricket for the calendar as it is. But there's Blast, there's the 100, there's the County Championship, there's a 50-over competition as well. Did you train at all, or was it just all playing?
No, it was. I mean, to be honest, I much prefer to just be playing and learning from playing competitive matches as opposed to going and doing technique work in the nets or just turning up to training, because that can be a bit monotonous sometimes. Whereas we're all quite competitive at this level, so you want to go out and keep those competitive juices flowing, so to speak. So playing matches, it is quite like, there was certainly times throughout the summer where I was talking to my wife Briere, I'm like, gonna need a break here, but then you just get into the next game and the lads look after you, and that's why I say I was pretty fortunate to be around such a good group of guys.
So you went over as a family over there?
Yeah. My 2 girls were with me, Briere and Ella. And yeah, like I said, just it felt like being part of the family, the Surrey family when we were there. There's a few Aussie guys. Daniel Worrell plays there now. He used to play for the South Australian Redbacks, played a couple of games for Australia as well. And to be honest, it's sort of a similar feeling back here at home. We're around the Aussie guys and at the Blues. So we've obviously got a bit more work to do at the Blues.
So Surrey has a reputation as they get it right. Like, there's 18 county championship teams over there, first division, second division. There's the haves and have-nots, but they're part of the haves.
Yeah, I mean they're certainly up at the point end of the season every year, defending champions this year, and I think the way they've been playing, and you look at their list, I think they'll do well to lose it this year. I mean, there's a couple of teams that are coming home pretty strong, but it's obviously. The home ground's the Oval. They're in the middle of London. It's obviously quite a desirable team to come and play for. But the coach Gareth Batty and Alex Stewart, the director of cricket, they get the lads going in the right direction. They're led pretty well by Rory Burns as well. So it's a great change room to be a part of.
Has Bazball infected any of the counties yet, and the way that they want their teams to play? Because here in Australia, every state basically they're judged on test players. Yeah. Producing test players, whereas over there it feels like it's more, we want Surrey to do well, we want Yorkshire to do well, and if England does well, good on them.
Yeah, I mean, I think I noticed it more with guys that were on the fringes of the English side. You certainly, you come up against Dan Lawrence, say, who plays for Essex, and he had no business playing some of the shots he tried to play at that stage of the game, and we played at their home ground. But obviously some guys feel the need that they have to play like that to be a part of that English side. But then, I played with guys like Dom Sibley, who played, he's obviously played Test cricket, and he got us home one game against Kent. We chased down 500, and he got not out, got 100 off a million balls, but saw us home, and we had plenty of time to spare. So there's still lots of guys who are happy to just go about their business. But there's certainly, I've just noticed it more with guys that, think they are on the fringes, or guys or younger players that trying to play like that to be part of the current setup.
What's a better standard, Shield cricket or county?
I think Shield cricket's definitely a better standard. Obviously, the talent pool's condensed into much less teams, but I certainly thought the standard of cricket over there was, very high. Played against some bloody good cricketers, but I might be biased a little bit and think that the standards here is a bit higher, but I was also playing in a very good cricket team at the same time.
Best road trip in county cricket?
There's a few.
And did the family stay back in London when you get these road trips?
They came away on a couple. They came to finals day. That was a lot of fun. There was a few Aussies playing for Hampshire on finals day. Nathan Ellis and Ben McDermott, so I got to see them and their families. And obviously James Vince plays for the Sixers, captains Hampshire. So that was a good trip for them to come on. Plenty of celebrating. Manchester at the start of the year was good. That's about a 5-hour road trip. Yep. So good fun on the back of coming home on the bus. So I'll probably have to say Manchester, to be honest, just because of the length of time on the bus.
What, so Manchester because of the roadies that you can get in on the way home, pretty much. Is it pretty raucous by the time you're coming through Watford?
Oh, look, it might have been if we'd won, but it was a draw, first game of the season. But there were the lads did share with me a few stories from their last game last year. They'd wrapped up the championship. Over there, it's obviously first past the post. They don't have a final. And their last game was up at Manchester at Old Trafford, and they'd already won. So there wasn't much time spent in the warm-ups. There might have been a few guys, everyone bar the two blokes batting asleep in the change room, waiting to bat. I think they had a pretty good week without much sleep. So, but at the same time, much to Lancashire's delight, because they beat Surrey, they jumped Hampshire on the table and ended up in second. So I think they were pretty happy to push the boys out that week.
Fair enough. Personally, what do you consider yourself as? A bowling all-rounder, straight-up all-rounder? Your batting's improving?
It's improving, and I'm quite competitive, so I'm always trying to work on that and try and have an effect on matches with the bat as well, wherever I can, and get myself in those match-winning situations. But I certainly think my bowling is what gets me picked in sides, and why teams like Surrey want me to come over. And if I can score some runs, that's a bonus. But certainly when I walk out to bat, I judge myself as a batter, and if I play not the way I like, I sort of judge myself as a batter and get a bit angry with myself. So, but I'd definitely say I'm more of a bowler who bats.
You look at the depth in positions that you can play in a test lineup, for instance. Where do you see a gap in the market there, where a possibility that you can dive in there and be a consistent member of that?
I'm not sure there are any gaps, are there? I'm going to have to get stuck into a few ankles at training.
That's the way to go about it.
Yeah,
it's a desperate way to go about it, but it's a way to go about it.
Got to do what you got to do sometimes. It's a pretty tough question, to be honest. Like, I feel like my cricket's been trending in the right direction, or the way I want to go for a few years now. But obviously our bowlers are so bloody good. They're all making strong cases to be some of our best ever. And then you have guys like Scotty Boland who've been dominating Shield cricket. They get their opportunity and take the mickey out of an English side at his home ground in an Ashes test. And that was just something that we'll all remember for a long time. You have Michael Nessa come in and do really well. And then you have guys like Jai Richardson, who's been injured. He's obviously a gun. And then Lance Morris, who's bowling absolute rockets. So I feel like there's plenty of depth there at the moment. So it's, I'm just trying to stay in my own lane a little bit, and hopefully an opportunity comes my way, and whatever the position that is in the team, I'll just grab it with both hands, and then try and do my best to win a game.
But in another era, it's like, okay, if I can't get into the test team, I'll play a bit of state cricket, maybe play a bit of county, and then on the spare weekend go and play some grade. Current era, player of your talent, I could just go on the whirlwind tour and play about 10 different franchise cricket competitions. Where does that sit with you at the moment, those opportunities?
Yeah, my number one ambition is to play Test cricket for my country, and I love playing red ball cricket. I love the challenges that brings, and we just don't play that much cricket here. Like if I'm running drinks for the Aussie team for over the summer, I basically miss all the cricket back here for the Blues. So that's sort of why I went over to play for Surrey, and hopefully that continues for a number of years. But there's competitions popping up everywhere, and then you have guys come back and say that was ran really well. Like the guys just went and played the Major League over in the States, and it was quite surprising to hear them come back and say, it was really well run. I think it's going to be even better next year. And that's only 2 weeks, I think it went for out of your year, and you're like, well, I can just pop over and play that if they want me in their team. And you're like, well, you do have that sort of thought in your mind, but hopefully, probably a little bit naive at times, hopefully you can play in those without taking away from the journey of trying to become a Test cricketer, and hope you can have sort of everything. But it's a tough question, because there's so many, to go and play cricket like somewhere in the States would be amazing. Like most people would enjoy going on a sort of a paid holiday to the States and get whacked around a little bit. So it's certainly been thought about, but firm ambitions to play Test cricket for Australia.
Oh, mate, I've got firm ambitions to get on that media junket somehow.
Yeah.
I wish the listener at Triple M would pipe up for the rights. Ewan, is that any chance? No? Oh, he's trying his best, yeah. Well, the NRL boys are going to Vegas.
I saw that. I think they can fit a cricket ground in there, can't they?
In Vegas? Would you get there?
What do you reckon?
If you could play for cricket in any part of the world, not in Australia. And it popped up, it's a franchise, and we've got this team right here. Where are you thinking?
Oh, I think if you were Ibiza, Greece, that'll be pretty good ones. You might have a bit more of a slope at Greece or Santorini than Lords, but yeah, somewhere in Europe would be good, Spain. But I think Vegas would be up there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how much sleep we'd be getting, but it'd be entertaining nonetheless.
It'd be more lively than a 5-hour bus trip from Manchester, I dare say.
There'd be no bus trips.
What are the mental and physical triggers that you got to look out for when you switch between formats?
Yeah, I mean, there are. I mean, yeah, that's actually another tough question, because you like to think that you can just switch from one to the other and you sort of all be okay, but there are certainly different skills that you have to work on as a bowler. Obviously, with red ball cricket, you're just trying to, hit somewhere around the top of off for, overs, spells, sessions, days on end, and with subtle variations. Whereas, white ball cricket, you're trying to go for as little amount of runs as possible. So, and that can be quite daunting at times, especially when you're in front of a full house in India somewhere, and Rohit or Hardik Pandya's going berserk. So, but sometimes it's often, I've found in recent times, getting the body right, because you've got to work on things. You've got to be bowling, like ripping slow ball bounces. You've got to be getting your Yorkers in, and it's not just rolling through and hitting the top of off and going through your paces. So, but I've been exposed to that a lot now, so I feel like it's almost sort of second nature. I feel like a few of the other guys would sort of be the same as well.
One I've got to ask, because I just bumped into him in the corridor. Stephen O'Keefe.
Oh, here we go.
What do you think's coming?
Oh, I don't know. It could be anything. Like, I love Soggy to death. This is why I love him so much. You never know what's going to come.
Surfboard.
Yeah.
You bought his surfboard or borrowed it? Or took it?
It cost me a bottle of wine. And I took two off him. One of them's as big as a tinny, and the other one I take out just to sort of fit in, but I can't actually stand up on it. So
I can't imagine Stephen O'Keefe on a surfboard.
Oh, tell you what, there was a couple of...
Was it used?
It had wax on it.
Okay, yeah, but...
Will was like... There was,
sure it was wax? Sorry.
Well, there was twice over his time at the Blues and the Sixers where he's rocked up with a black eye.
Yeah.
And he's like, I just headbutted the surfboard. And I was like...
Oh, bullshit.
I was like, mate, I'm pretty sure, your big yellow surfboard says soft flood on it. I don't know if, it's going to give you a black eye, but they probably just got into a row at the bar or something. But
I would say bouncer at the boat shed.
But I did go for a surf down at Bondi.
Yes.
And I'm very much I'm not a surfer. I'd struggle, standing up on a boat. But I did headbutt that soft flight surfboard, and I had a massive shiner the next day. So.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah.
So he wasn't lying.
I had to go back and tell him, sorry, mate, for spreading rumours, but, this is from your surfboard as well.
So are you going to give it back, or is it yours now?
Absolutely not. It's mine. He's too big for it now.
He just spent 2.5 months in Italy.
He needs a few laps around the paddock. He
needed 2 seats on the plane coming back.
Yeah, that was a costly trip for him.
It was a costly trip. Anyway, BBL.
Yep.
This season. Thoughts? Impressions?
I can't wait. I mean, last year hurt us quite a bit, if I'm honest. We lost to the Heat in the Challenger or the semi. Or
the one before the final.
Yeah, and we feel like we sort of match up really well to those blokes. I think we've got a great record against them, and they had a shocking record here at the SCG. But we'd had some, not issues with the pitch last year, but it was tough work last year. Not many big, high scores. So that one in the change room after we lost that one was, that hurt us quite a bit. So I think, I've spoken to Silky just before and a few of the other lads, and I think there's a fair bit of hunger in the belly to come back and play a bit better this year. So I think we're going to definitely got some motivation.
Because it's interesting how you talk about that. It's means so much, because to the fans, it's middle of summer. It's a bit of fairy floss, a bit of fun.
Yeah.
You go home and you forget about the result almost the next day. You just enjoy the experience. But for the players, it seeps in deeply.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say you train so hard for it or whatnot, but you do put in so much effort to go and to win these games. And we have seen over the years how engaged our crowd here at the SCG has been, and to go out and sort of lose a match where we certainly felt like we should have won. yeah, like I said, that hurt quite a bit because, yeah, we match up quite well to those blokes, got a good record against them. And, you know, we've been in the final quite a bit. We've obviously been very successful. So to not even make the final last year was quite disappointing for us.
But Socky's around again, so he might get you across the
That's
line.
the thing, mate. He can't string 2 games back-to-back, that bloke, but he's our best player.
Well, he can. He just chooses not to.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, doesn't he? But Socky's been our best player for, you know, the Big Bash started. So I'd imagine he's going to have a pretty similar effect this year on and off the paddock.
Yeah. Batter you fear bowling to the most in the BBL?
I'm honestly going to have to say Ashton Turner. I was having this conversation with someone, it might have been Laurie Evans when I was over in the UK, because last year it felt like he wasn't in great form, but he hadn't scored a heap of runs, but he comes out in the final or he comes out in these big games and he just runs teams off the paddock, and then he quite often ends up not out. And he did that to us the previous year at Marvel Stadium. You know, you look up at the scoreboard, he's 20 off 10. Doesn't look like he's barely played a shot, but he turns, you know, half runs into 2s, and he always ends up not out. So, yeah, he's one that I find really hard to bowl to and get out.
And the bowler that's hardest to get away?
Any spinner for me, I think. Yeah, fart him out your backside and I'm going to miss it, I reckon.
Well, hopefully no one farts it out of the backside for you consistently this summer, Sean. Good luck, mate.
Yeah,
Thanks for the chat.
Thanks.